What's up, YouTubers? PokeJediTrek's here. So, Halloween is 5 weeks away, and today's cooking video I'm going to be showing you how to make chocolate stuffed jack-o'-lantern cookies. So, they're pretty complex to make. They might seem complex, but they're actually quite simple to make. Let's go over what we need. Now to make these cookies, you're actually going to need quite a lot of ingredients. You're going to need some baking chips as well as chocolate squares. You also need flour, salt, cinnamon, white sugar, brown sugar, pumpkin puree, some writing gel for cake toppers and stuff. You also need eggs, baking soda, vanilla extract, and you need butter. And so let's get started. So first things first, you're going to need a medium-sized mixing bowl, and you're going to add 1.5 cups of flour. Here's a half. Here's a whole. 1.5. A whole. 2 wholes, I mean. 1.5. Actually, you know what? We'll just use the last of this flour. Flour container was getting pretty low. You also got to combine a teaspoon of baking soda. I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon measuring spoon. Here's half. And here's a whole. And then here's 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which is another ingredient. And here's a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, which is also... I also forgot to mention this, but the cinnamon I forgot to mention is optional, but I'm actually going to add the cinnamon anyway to help give it that authentic autumn flavor. Now I'm going to whisk this around. So this next part, you're going to need a larger mixing bowl, and you're going to add 2 sticks of butter. As you can see, I've already done so in the process. And then what you're going to add to the large mixing bowl isn't just going to be 2 sticks of butter, but you're going to add 1/2 cup of your white sugar and a whole cup of your brown sugar. So here's a 1/2 cup of your white sugar. Here's 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And here's a whole. Anyway, let's get this mixed up. Gotta use an electric whisk because the butter isn't soft enough to use a fork with. So here you're going to add 2 eggs to your butter. To your butter sugar mix. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So then you need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Here's half, whole, 1.5, 2 wholes. Then you're gonna mix this around. Everything looks well mixed. Now we're going to add the dry ingredients to the wet ones, and we're going to mix them around. Should have done this when I was combining the butter and the sugar when I was adding the eggs and the vanilla, but I forgot to add the can of pumpkin puree to the mix. So yeah, you're going to add your whole can of pumpkin puree. and combine that around. Overlooked this instruction. Now, since we're back right at it, you're going to add a whole cup of chocolate chips. And you're going to fold those in. Should do. Alright, so for this next step, you've got to make sure your oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to lay your pre-made cookies directly onto the cooking sheets. In fact, I would actually suggest you use a spoon because obviously it's too hard to get out with a fork. So next you're going to take some of your parts of your chocolate bar one piece at a time. You're going to remove, and then you're going to add 1 square of chocolate to each cookie. Then you're going to fill, and then you're essentially going to cover up and then you're going to add some additional dough, and you're going to roll it, and you're going to conceal the chocolate inside using some additional dough. Alright, oven's preheated. We're going to put these in the oven and we're going to let them bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. Be sure to put 1 tray at a time if you're going to use more than 1 tray. Alrighty. That does it for this batch. I'm going to pull this one out of the oven and put the other one in. It came out quite a lot bigger than I thought. Might as well let them cool. So obviously when you pull cookies out of the oven, you need to let them cool for a while before you transfer them to the rack, to a cooling rack, or else they'll fall apart. So I've given my first batch of cookies a little time to cool off. Hopefully, I'm going to see if I can transfer them to the cooling rack and make sure that they are transferred intact. I transferred them over and I was able to get them over to the cooling rack intact, but I forgot to get it on camera. So it looks like this hextet of cookies is pretty much cooled off now. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to need the black writing gel to create jack-o'-lantern faces. Alright, here we are. Not my best job at drawing the typical shapes of eyes and noses for jack-o'-lanterns, which are upwards triangles, but they'll have to do. Now we gotta let the frosting icing sit before we can sample one. Alright, so I've given the cookies enough time to chill out and harden, so now I'm gonna sample one of these cookies. Haven't gotten to the That tastes great. And the dark chocolate filling really adds to the sense of strength of death, you know, because you know black is associated with Halloween because it symbolizes the death of summer. But anyway, that's essentially how you make these types of cookies. Thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you next time.